exactly what you want to see. Let's run this puppy in. Score a touchdown and tie this game. Life, run for your life, touchdown on one play. Worked on this in practice. Touchdown. It's up to Kelvin Benjamin. This is all you, buddy. Kelvin Benjamin for a touchdown. Oh, he toasted his man. Holmes toasted his man. Spin move. Oh! Oh! What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video here in the World of Juice channel, and welcome to, I guess you could say it's an annual thing now. Maybe we'll make it an annual thing. I can't honestly remember if I did this last year, but as you've seen by the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be ranking the 2022 NFL quarterbacks from the greatest of the great to the not so good trash quarterbacks. And I wanted to do this because it's been a while since I made some controversial NFL videos. I used to give my opinion on NFL videos a couple years ago and last year too, and it's been a little bit since I've gotten some people angry. I want to stir the pot. I want to make people yell at me. I want people to be passionate about the NFL, and I want people to be passionate about their NFL quarterback. So if you think that I rank your NFL quarterback poorly, I probably will, because I'm very, very harsh on some of these quarterbacks you'll see in this video. If you think that I rate your quarterback poorly, let me know in the comments. Yell at me. I want you to yell at me in the comments, because I'm guaranteeing you that at least 50% of the people that watch this video will not like where I put their favorite quarterback. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. And it's my honest opinion. Like, this is... I'm not going to be biased towards... Hold on. I don't know why that started playing. Sorry, you may not have heard that. I don't know. An ad just popped up. Anyway, I may have just cut all that out. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be to the point. I'm going to be not biased towards my favorite quarterback. Well, he's not my favorite. Tom Brady's my favorite quarterback. But the quarterback of my football team, Mac Jones, I'll be honest. I'll be honest with every single quarterback on this list. And I do want to point out one thing before we get started. This is the 2022 quarterback list. There are the rookie class on this list, like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, guys like that, the guys that were in this class. I will not rank those guys. They will be the only quarterbacks that I do not rank, because I simply cannot give my opinion on what I think they're going to do, because, yeah, I have my opinion on what I think they could be in the NFL. Like, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be an okay quarterback in Pittsburgh, but do I think he's going to be an average guy, or do I think he's going to be great? I don't know. I can't tell until we actually see a full season from them. Or the same thing with Desmond Ridder. I don't even know if Desmond Ridder's going to start. Don't they have Marcus Mariota there now? I don't know who's in Atlanta. Or Sam Howell in Washington, or just like name your quarterback. Malik Willis, he's obviously not going to start because they have Ryan Tannehill. So like, you can't rank these rookies yet. So they're going to be the only ones that I'm not going to rank. So I'm sorry that I'm not going to rank them. If they're the quarterback or the possible quarterback of one of your favorite teams, I'm sorry that I'm just not going to rank them. So we are going to get to the quarterbacks that are the projected starters for the 2022 NFL season. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited because I can't wait to trash your favorite quarterback. So let's get straight into the video. You should see the 2022 NFL tier list maker, and we'll go over the categories that I have laid out here. So first off, we have the elite quarterbacks. These are the greatest of the greats. These are your MVP candidates. These are your franchise Super Bowl contending guys. The guys that when you think of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, these are your elite guys. Pretty straightforward. Franchise guy is the next one, the next tier down. And the franchise guy is a quarterback that you can envision leading your team to a playoff berth and possibly a Super Bowl. And they're a guy that you trust to make your team a playoff contender each and every year. You know what a franchise guy is. A solid quarterback is the next one down. And a solid quarterback is a guy that can get you to the playoffs. He's not going to lose you games, and there's an option, like there's room to grow. There's room to grow with a solid quarterback. He's gonna make the right plays. He's gonna get you in winning situations, and he's gonna move you into good positions to possibly make the playoffs. That's what a solid quarterback is, in my opinion. Then we go down to the mediocre tier. The mediocre tier. And the mediocre tier is, as you would think it is, it's a guy that is just a guy. He's just there. He could win you games. He could lose you games. He's not going to be anything special. And he's just a guy, basically. I almost named this tier just a guy. Then we have backup tier, which is the next one down. And the backup tier is what it is. It's a backup quarterback in this league. That's very straightforward to say. And there's nothing wrong with being a backup quarterback in the NFL. You're still in the NFL, so I mean, just because you're a backup quarterback isn't a bad thing. It's just you're not good enough to be a starter, and it's that plain and simple. And then we have my favorite tier, the trash tier, and we are going to be filling this trash tier up because, in my opinion, there are more than a few very trash NFL quarterbacks, and you may not like it. I may love it. Let's find out who's going first. Aaron Rodgers is the first up on this list, and obviously, Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVPs of the league, a choke artist in the playoffs, most notably the NFC Championship game. Doesn't have very good odds in that, doesn't have very good luck in that. But he's a two-time MVP, two-time in a row, back-to-back. Now, should he have won back-to-back? No. In my opinion, Tom Brady was the MVP of the league last year. In my opinion, the year before, Derrick Henry was the MVP of the league. So Aaron Rodgers probably shouldn't have either of those MVPs, but who am I to say? He's got both of them, so you can't take that away from him. So Aaron Rodgers, obviously, there's no debating. Aaron Rodgers is elite. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He is elite. Now, how's he going to do this season without Davante Adams? We'll find out. But as of right now, Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback. Baker Mayfield is the second quarterback on this list. Oh, boy, do I despise. Well, I don't despise Baker Mayfield. I mean, I have my opinions about Baker from college in Oklahoma, the infamous plant the flag on the artificial turf at Ohio State, and it doesn't go in and it falls over. Iconic, because it's hilarious that he thought it was going to work. But it's fine. That's in college. So Baker Mayfield in the NFL has been up. He's been down. He's been injured. He's had coaches, plenty of different coaches. He's had a very roller coaster experience in the NFL, and throughout all of it, he's been pretty mediocre. If you ask me, Baker Mayfield goes in not the solid tier, the mediocre tier. He's got the potential, I guess you could say, to be in the solid tier, or even maybe the franchise guy tier if we're extending it a little too far. But as of right now, and we don't even know what team he's going to be on. He's obviously not going to be the quarterback of the Browns anymore because they got Mr. Happy Ending over there in Cleveland. So Baker Mayfield, for whatever team he's going to be on, whether it be the Panthers or the Seahawks or the football team or whoever it ends up being, or the Commanders, I guess I should say, Baker is mediocre. And that's what his career has been so far. Then we got Joe Shiesty. Now, I'm not going to give Joe Burrow elite status just yet. Joe Burrow is as of right now, a franchise guy. He just played in the Super Bowl, arguably should have won that Super Bowl. If he had literally like one more second in the pocket, he could have found Jamar Chase wide open down the field. He already had toasted Jalen Ramsey, and he was wide open for like 15 yards or something. So they would have won that game if its offensive line would have just gave him like 1 or 2 more seconds to find somebody. But obviously they didn't. We know how it all ended. Aaron Donald got a ring. The Rams won. So Joe Burrow, maybe next year I could put him, if we do this again next year, maybe I'll put Joe Burrow in the elite tier. He's very good. He's like on the very, very edge of franchise guy to elite guy. But as of right now, Joe Burrow is the franchise of the Cincinnati Bengals. He is the Cincinnati Bengals, him and Jamar Chase. And so Joe Burrow goes into the franchise guy tier. Then we got Mr. Eyeliner, Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a solid quarterback. He's got Davante Adams now, his Fresno State teammate. How are they going to pair up? I would assume pretty good. He's got a good run game in Josh Jacobs, decent offensive line, very solid defense. I mean, Derek Carr's got all the weapons to make this team very solid. He's a solid, steady quarterback. What else you want me to say? He's good. He puts up good numbers. He's a good fantasy quarterback. He doesn't make that many mistakes, and he's a solid guy. So that's where he goes. He goes in the solid tier. Then we go to Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. Now, he is a little bit on the older side. I think he's like 30, maybe late 29 or late 20s, maybe like 29, I think is exactly what he is. Maybe just turned 30. I don't know what he is. He's late. He's a little bit older, but that's not the point. The point is he puts up fantasy numbers. He puts up video game numbers through the air. And if it wasn't for bad clock management from Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys probably advance in that playoffs, and who knows what happens. Maybe they beat Tom Brady and they go play the Rams in the conference championship game, and maybe they beat the Rams. Who knows what happens if that's that inexplicable call where he runs and slides with no time on the clock and stuff, and who knows what happens. But in my opinion, Dak Prescott is the franchise quarterback for the Cowboys, and he's a good quarterback. He's very good. I like Dak Prescott. And then we get to one of my favorite quarterbacks in the entire league, Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones is the first quarterback that goes to trash. He is a bad quarterback. Now, I have said this about many quarterbacks in my time. There's not many quarterbacks that are worse than Daniel Jones. We'll find out who's worse than Daniel Jones in this list. But Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback. Now, maybe you could chalk that up to he didn't have very much time to develop. He was trying to just thrown into the situation in New York, which already wasn't that great, and it didn't get better with him at quarterback. And that's a fair point. And maybe he didn't have a ton of time to develop. Where'd he go? Duke, I think, is where he went. And Duke has a horrible football program, so that's your first sign. But he had the measurables. He's a tall, strong-arm quarterback who can sit in the pocket and sling it with the best of them. He's just not good. He's simply just not good. And he fumbles the ball consistently, and he can't read defenses that well. He's just not good. He's trash. So that's where he goes. And then we get to Sam Darnold, who also falls into the trash tier. Sam Darnold is god-awful. He is so bad. He was bad in college, and people still thought he was going to be a good quarterback. He can't make decisions. He's so indecisive in the pocket. He is horrible. He's got a decent arm, but not great. But his worst flaw is his decision-making is just one of the worst decision-makers of all time, in my opinion, in the NFL, and he is a trash quarterback. Now, we go to Drew Lock, and Drew Lock is better than both of these two guys, I would say. He's a backup. He's a career backup. If you want to have a solid backup plan for, let's say your quarterback goes down with an injury and he's going to be done for 4 to 5 weeks, and your backup quarterback is Drew Lock for 4 to 5 weeks, you're not in the worst situation in the world. Now, if you're going into a situation like the Seahawks are going into in real life, or this season, it is real life, this season where Drew Lock is the projected starter, then you're in trouble. But if you have Drew Lock as a backup, he's a solid backup. He can make some throws in a game. Like if your quarterback gets hurt in the third quarter and you need a backup quarterback to come in, I could see Drew Lock being a kind of guy like that could win you a game when it's make one big play and win you a game in the fourth quarter or something when your quarterback gets injured. I could see Drew Lock being that guy. He's just a backup in my opinion. He's certainly not starter. And then we go to Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I was debating putting Jimmy Garoppolo in the backup tier, but Jimmy Garoppolo is a mediocre quarterback. He gets injured very frequently, very injury prone. He sometimes makes bad decisions, but then again, he's also led a team to a Super Bowl. Now, you could argue against that by saying that 49ers defense was incredible, and that's what carried them to that Super Bowl. And that could be a fair argument, but Jimmy Garoppolo also had to be a part of that. You have to have a good quarterback if you want to go to the Super Bowl, and Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. He's a mediocre guy. And this is coming from a Patriots fan who saw Jimmy Garoppolo for the first, he started the first 2 games of Brady's suspension, and then Jacoby Brissett started a game because Garoppolo got hurt. Something like that. Garoppolo and Brissett split the time, I think, in the 4 games that Brady was suspended that year for the Deflategate. But Jimmy's okay. Jimmy's not bad. Like if I was out of options and it was between, I don't know, like Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm taking Jimmy Garoppolo out of those 4 guys. Those other 3. I'm taking him over them. Because Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, I should even probably put Jimmy ahead of Baker. Because I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. So Jimmy goes into the mediocre tier. Gino Smith is a backup quarterback in this league. And it's funny that the 2 Seattle starting quarterbacks are both backups in my opinion. And Gino probably even deserves to be in the trash tier because he's just not very good. And I may keep him down there. Now that I think about it, I may keep Gino Smith in that trash tier because he's just not very good. He had highlight numbers at West Virginia, but he was also throwing to Tavon Austin, and Tavon Austin was a demon at West Virginia. So, I mean, that kind of inflates your numbers a little bit. And so Geno Smith has done nothing since entering the league, and he's bad. Then we go to Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a backup quarterback in this league. Now, let me explain to you why I feel this way. Jared Goff was not good in college. Jared Goff was not good on the Rams. Yes, they got to a Super Bowl. Did you watch that Super Bowl? Because I sure did, because my favorite team, the Patriots, won that Super Bowl. That was a god-awful Super Bowl. It was the most boring Super Bowl I've ever watched for both teams. And Jared Goff sucks. He just does. He's not the guy for the Rams. He's obviously not the guy for the Lions. And he's a backup quarterback. I'd like to have Jared Goff as my backup. If I had Jared Goff on my team as a backup, I'd be fine. I'd be like, hey, we're in a good spot. We got a good starter, and we got a decent backup. But Jared Goff's not a starter in this league. Now, this one's probably going to be the most controversial, one of the most controversial guys or opinions that I have. It is Justin Herbert. Now, I've been seeing all this stuff about Justin Herbert being the next guy. He's got such great numbers. He puts up so many touchdowns and so many yards, and he's a great quarterback, and he's tall, and he's athletic, and he's smart. He's handsome. He's got great hair. Justin Herbert is a solid NFL quarterback. It is way too early to put Justin Herbert as a franchise quarterback for the Chargers, and it's way too early to put him as an elite quarterback. I could see an argument for Justin Herbert as a franchise guy. I will not listen to arguments for Justin Herbert being an elite quarterback. He has not been in the league long enough for him to be an elite quarterback. Now, you may be asking why I put Joe Burrow as a franchise guy being around the same time as Justin Herbert. Probably even less amount of time than Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert is a solid quarterback. I think Joe Burrow is better than Justin Herbert. I think he's better. He may not have the better arm, but I think Joe Burrow is a better overall quarterback than Justin Herbert. That's my hot take. So I could listen to an argument. I'll even put Justin Herbert above Derek Carr. I could listen to an argument you guys could make that Justin Herbert is a franchise guy. You got to convince me. I think he's a really guy, and maybe next year the same thing where I could move Joe Burrow into elite. If Justin Herbert impresses me this season and has a great year, puts up great numbers and makes the playoffs and does great things in the playoffs, maybe he's a franchise guy next year. Maybe he's even an elite quarterback next year. Subject to change, obviously. But as of right now, what I've seen from Justin Herbert, he's a good quarterback. But all this hype, he's getting very overhyped. All this stuff, I think, makes him a solid quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a mediocre quarterback in this league. I have never really believed in him since he was in Alabama, since he went to Oklahoma, and I never really believed in him when he went to the Eagles. He's a fine quarterback. I wouldn't pick him over any of these guys above him. I wouldn't even pick him over Baker, or actually I probably would pick him over Baker. So let's put a Baker behind him. I probably wouldn't pick him over Jimmy, but I probably would pick him over Baker. But I certainly wouldn't pick him over any of these guys above him. He doesn't really do much. He runs the ball, and he throws semi-accurate passes. I mean, what else do you want me to say about that? The Eagles' offense has been okay. Maybe it'll be better this year, but he's mediocre. He's just average. And then we go to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a franchise quarterback. That is plain and simple. He destroyed my Patriots in the wild card game, although the Patriots had no business being in that wild card game. They should not have made the playoffs with that team, but they somehow did, and they got spanked by the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen is very close to that elite spot. And I debated when I was looking at these quarterbacks, I was like, should Josh Allen be an elite quarterback? And I was very close to putting him in that tier. But Josh Allen is a franchise guy, established. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's very athletic. He has got a cannon of an arm. He's the future. He's one of the quarterbacks of the future of this league that is going to take you for the next 10 years, and you're going to be arguing, oh, who's better, Josh Allen or so-and-so? And Josh Allen's that guy, and he's great. He's a great quarterback. Justin Fields is, I hate to do this, but Justin Fields is a mediocre quarterback as of right now. Now, I know it's only been one season, and he's on a sucky Bears team, but he put up mediocre numbers. And I know he's got a no offensive line and no weapons, and that's not his fault. And he only put up the numbers he could within the terms of that offense. And so hopefully this season, with a little bit of better offensive line and maybe a weapon or two there, Darnell Mooney seems to be okay. I don't know if he can get the job done. I hope that he can. But as of right now, Justin Fields, after one season, is a mediocre quarterback. Kirk Cousins also is a mediocre quarterback. Kirk Cousins absolutely is the definition of an average Joe. He is an average quarterback in this league. Yeah, he can have games where he puts up huge numbers. And he can even have a season or two where he puts up incredible numbers. But Kirk Cousins, when it gets down to business, is never going to be a guy that you choose over any one of these guys. And he's certainly never going to be a guy you can count on to win a Super Bowl or win a big-time playoff game or a big-time game to get into the playoffs. He's just not that kind of guy. He's a very good quarterback, but he's just an average, mediocre guy. Lamar Jackson's a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. I don't care about he's a running back throwing the football. No. Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback in this league. He's very quick. One of the quickest people I've ever watched in the NFL. So elusive. Yeah, he had a down season last year. He got hurt. It was up and down. It was bad, but I don't think that's going to be the norm going forward for Lamar Jackson. He's a franchise guy. He's the Ravens franchise guy. Now, if he wants to be the quarterback of the Ravens, he's going to have to initiate those conversations. The Ravens have been open about wanting to give him a massive contract extension, but he has not reciprocated the feelings. So if he wants to be the quarterback, then it's up to him. But as of right now, Lamar Jackson's a franchise quarterback. Trevor Lawrence falls into that same kind of Justin Fields territory of just being mediocre. Now, I'm not saying that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are going to be mediocre for their entire careers. I think that both of them are going to be very, very good quarterbacks. They're probably going to be franchise quarterbacks within a couple of years. But Trevor Lawrence put up good numbers on a bad team, so did Justin Fields. But he also put up mediocre numbers on a bad team, so did Justin Fields. So, I mean, you gotta take each game and look at it. Look what he's working with. He's got Marvin Jones, and he's still putting up bad, mediocre numbers. And I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think he's gonna have a good career. But as of right now, what he showed me after a season, I know he's on a bad team. But as he's shown me for one season, he is a mediocre quarterback. And he didn't really even look that great in the games that I watched. Every single game, in all the games that I watched, he looked mediocre. Mac Jones also is a mediocre quarterback in this league. I know, Patriots fans are rioting. Absolutely rioting right now. Because I just said that Mac Jones is a mediocre quarterback. But he is. I mean, he threw 2 deep balls last year that worked, and the Patriots offense isn't built for the deep ball. They're trying to get players that can go deep, but I mean that offense just is not great. Damian Harris gets hurt all the time. He's a good running back, but he gets hurt. They've got Rex Burkhead, who's old, and that offensive line gets injured all the time. And this is coming from a Patriots fan, by the way. I love the Patriots, but just Mac Jones he's in the same, I'm not being rude. I'm not being unfair to any of these second-year players. They're all mediocre right now. They're all mediocre. It's not like I favored Mac Jones above anybody else or favored Trevor Lawrence above anybody else. They're all on the same level because they're all playing on average teams, or in Trevor Lawrence, his case is a really bad team, and Justin Fields' team is a really bad team. But Patriots are average to below average, in my opinion. And Mac Jones, he looked good. Is he going to take a next step? I know everything that I've read on the Patriots media and from training camps and mini camps is that they're saying Mac Jones is going to take that next step, and I hope he does. For my sake as a Patriots fan, I really hope he takes that next step. And I hope that they look better than what they did. But that team was god awful in that playoff game against the Bills, and they should not have been in the playoffs in the first place. They had no business being there. So Mac Jones is a mediocre quarterback at this point. There's a gnat in here. That's why I keep moving my hand like that. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, is an elite quarterback in this league. Patrick Mahomes is a special kind of talent. He makes wild 1 in a million throws. He's a 1 in a million quarterback. Get out of here. There's a gnat flying in my face. He's a special kind of guy. And he goes in that elite tier with Aaron Rodgers. And as you can see, I'm being very selective with who I think is an elite quarterback, because you should be. You shouldn't call every single good quarterback an elite quarterback. That word and that term gets used very, very often and very, very sparingly, and I don't think that every quarterback that's good is an elite quarterback. You've got to be a special kind of guy to be an elite quarterback, and both Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are elite quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota is a backup quarterback in this league. I had high hopes of him coming out of college, out of Oregon. He's a former Heisman winner. I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was going to be pretty good. He went to the Titans, had some good moments. Most of them were bad, and then had moved on to Atlanta, and I think he's still in Atlanta. Or maybe he went on to Oakland, and now he's in Atlanta. I don't know where he went. It doesn't matter. He's a backup quarterback in this league. It's just that plain and simple. Matt Ryan. Now, one of my most infamous hot takes in my time is I think that Matt Ryan is the most overrated quarterback in the entire league. Maybe even of all time. Matt Ryan gets all this hype about being a legendary quarterback and having all these great numbers. And yeah, I can't argue with the stats. Matt Ryan has put up great numbers. I think he's like top 10 all time in passing yards and in touchdowns. He's got a ton of those. And he's been a big name, and he's been a league MVP. But he's very overrated in my opinion. He is not as good as people think he is, and Matt Ryan is a mediocre quarterback. Now, I'm not saying this because of the past couple of seasons. I thought this when he was going to the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons and losing and blowing that 28-3 lead. Now, this isn't all based on the 28-3 lead. I thought he was mediocre before that and when he was going to that. And now after it, it is certainly just piled on. And yeah, that Falcons team is atrocious. Absolutely bad. But now he's in Indianapolis. And is he going to be better? Maybe. Maybe he'll surprise me. Maybe he'll throw this in my face and make me eat my words, because he's got Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. He's got a good, solid Indianapolis Colts team. And maybe my opinion will change. Probably not, because I don't think Matt Ryan's that good. But as of right now, in my opinion, after all of what Matt Ryan's done in his career, he's a mediocre quarterback. Davis Mills is a backup in this league. That was very apparent from the moment I watched him play. I personally have a good connection with Davis Mills because of our Chicago Cougars franchise that we have here on the YouTube channel. Davis Mills was our starter for year number 1, won us a Super Bowl in year number 1. So I have this kind of attachment to Davis Mills that not a lot of people have. But in real life, Davis Mills is not that great. And for some reason, the Texans want to choose him over Baker Mayfield, and they want to ride with Davis Mills. Maybe he'll impress me and he'll take that next leap, but he's a backup. Davis Mills is a backup. Kyler Murray is a solid NFL quarterback. He's on that same tier with Justin Herbert. These two guys have the opportunity to get to franchise level. And these two guys have the opportunity to be elite quarterbacks in this league. And the same thing with Justin Herbert. I would be open to listening to arguments about Kyler Murray being a franchise quarterback. But what I've seen from Kyler Murray, he's very undersized. I knew that. Everybody knew that coming into the NFL when he came into the league. He gets hurt. He has not finished a full season in the NFL since he's been in the NFL. He drastically falls off every single season. Now, that may be a combination of him getting hurt later in the season and Cliff Kingsbury being a choke artist that he is, and they always fall off. You could go back into his time in college and see that his teams drastically take a big decline towards the end of the season. So there's a multitude of things going on in Arizona, but as of right now, Kyler Murray is a solid NFL quarterback. Russell Wilson is elite. He's been elite for a decade. Russell Wilson is the guy, and now he's in Denver. I have high hopes for this Denver team. They have really good offensive weapons. They have a really solid defense. This Denver team is going to be competing with the Chargers and with the Chiefs for the top spot in the West, and I think that Russell Wilson is that missing piece. Obviously, Denver has struggled with the quarterback position since Peyton Manning retired, and so Russell Wilson coming in there, I think, is going to help that team to that next level, and I think Russell Wilson obviously is an elite quarterback. Matt Stafford, I really, really debated this one. This was probably the toughest one. And I know everybody's saying that Matt Stafford is an elite quarterback. Matt Stafford's a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. I'm not taking anything away from Matt Stafford. He won a Super Bowl on his first year on a new team. Yeah, it's a super team, but he was the quarterback of that super team. He was part of he was one of the reasons why it was named a super team. And Matt Stafford was a solid, really good quarterback in Detroit. He was just undervalued because he was in Detroit. And his only good weapon was Calvin Johnson. He retired way too early. So I can hear arguments for why Matt Stafford would be elite. He puts up great numbers. He's won a Super Bowl on a new team in his first year. But in my opinion, Matt Stafford's a franchise quarterback. So... and that's not bad. He's a franchise guy. Like, franchise quarterback and elite quarterback are not bad. These are very solid's not even bad. Like, these three rankings right here, these three tiers are very good. Like, if you're one of these three tiers, you're a good quarterback in this league. You shouldn't be ashamed that you're in one of these three tiers. Ryan Tannehill is a backup quarterback in this league. I debated putting him in mediocre because Ryan Tannehill is one of the most average quarterbacks I have ever watched. He's like a Kirk Cousins, which is why I kind of want to put him in this, because he's almost like the identical clone of Kirk Cousins, only he's more athletic. He's one of these guys that will have a really high completion percentage. He's a stat guy where if you just strictly look at the stats, you'll think, oh, Ryan Tannehill's a really good quarterback. He's got good numbers. He's got good yards, good completion percentage. He's got a lot of touchdowns, minimal interceptions. But if you actually physically watch him play, he's very average. Very average. He's like one of the most average quarterbacks I've ever watched. So he's going to go in the mediocre tier, but it's very close to being a backup quarterback. Tom Brady, I mean, obviously, I've got to put Tom Brady at the very top of the elite list because he's the GOAT. He's got the 7 Super Bowls. He's still playing into his 40s. I mean, he is my favorite quarterback of all time. He's my favorite player of all time. And he's elite. I mean, if you have Tom Brady in any other category, then you just don't watch football. You don't know enough about football. Tom Brady's an elite quarterback. There's nothing to say about that. Trey Lance, I don't know. I don't know about Trey Lance, so we're going to put him in the mediocre tier. It's the same with Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones and Justin Fields. Trey Lance, in his time that he played when Garoppolo was hurt, looked average. Is he going to be the guy? Maybe. But as of right now, I can't physically think of another spot for him to be in. He's just the guy right now. Maybe he'll turn into something. He'll surprise me this year, but as of right now, he's just a guy. Mitchell Trubisky is a backup quarterback in this league. He's probably going to be the starter for opening day on the Steelers. He's a backup quarterback through and through. Now, I think Mitchell Trubisky has some talent, obviously, because he's a quarterback in this league and he started in this league, but he was thrown into a very bad situation with a bad head coach in Chicago, and it didn't work out, and so he kind of got a bad rap, and he didn't look very good in Chicago for good reason. But he's just not a back. He's not a good quarterback. He's a backup. Tua Tagovailoa. God, I hate this. I really do. I don't know where to put Tua. I don't know about Tua. He's very injury prone, and he's not that great. He doesn't have a great arm. I think Tua is going to be an eventual backup in this league. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all. I think that these other young guys like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, even Mac Jones and Trey Lance, I think are better than him in the long run. And I think Tua's just going to eventually be a backup quarterback in this league. So say what you will about Tua. If you think he's going to be great, I'm curious to see what you're smoking. But Tua's just not that great for me. I don't really have it's kind of harsh to put him at backup. I don't really have another tier in between these two, but he's not that great. Deshaun Watson, Mr. Happy Ending, is a very interesting one because he's a franchise quarterback, if not elite. But we haven't seen him play in a year. And who knows if we'll even see him play in another year. He could get suspended for another season this year. So for that, I have to put Deshaun Watson in mediocre to average. That's probably very weird to say, but I mean, Deshaun Watson was unbelievable in the Texans, but we haven't seen him play in a year. Is he even in shape? Probably. If he even plays this year, is he going to be the same talent level that he was before he sat out for a year? We can't know that until we actually see him on the field, and who knows when the next time we'll see him on the field is. So as of right now, I have to put him in this category because I just simply can't judge. I'm not going to judge him based on what he did 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I'm going to judge him on what he's done recently, which is what I'm doing with all these guys. And I haven't seen him, so I have to put him in the average. Carson Wentz is a garbage quarterback in this league. Absolutely the worst quarterback on this list. Carson Wentz is garbage. I talked about Sam Darnold making horrible decisions and probably being the worst decision maker in the entire league. Carson Wentz takes that by a mile. If you've ever seen Carson Wentz play, you are smacking your brains out every time he throws the football or tries to throw the football because he's making poor decision after poor decision. He's not that great. He's injury prone and he's expensive. Not a good combination. And is he going to work where's he at now? Is he the Washington Commanders quarterback? I think he is. It didn't work in Indy. It didn't work in Philadelphia. I mean, he had the one season where they went to the Super Bowl and he was the main reason why they were getting into that spot where he was an MVP candidate. I don't believe it. He's not a good quarterback. Zach Wilson goes into the same exact tier as everybody else on this list just because he's on a really bad team and he is an average quarterback as of right now. He had some bright moments as of all these young guys did last year. Mac Jones had shining moments. Trevor Lawrence had shining moments. Justin Fields, Trey Lance, they all had shining moments where they looked like they could be the future, but they also had really, really upsetting bad moments. And so he just goes in that same tier. It wouldn't be fair to put him in above anybody else when I've done that with everybody. So he goes in that tier. And then the final quarterback, because like I said, we're not going to mess with any of these incoming rookies. They will stay there because I just simply can't rank them. Jameis Winston is a backup quarterback in this league. Simply because he's not a starter. And that's really the reason why anybody would be a backup. Jameis Winston is not a good starting quarterback. And I know that everybody in the comments would be saying, look at the stats that he put up before his knee injury, Juice. Watch the stats. Look at the games that he played in New Orleans. He was putting up great numbers. What do you say? Jameis Winston is obviously a very good quarterback. No. Jameis Winston is a career backup, and he will be a career backup. If you looked at what he did in Tampa Bay, it was bad. If you looked at what he did in New Orleans, it was average. Put those two together, that's a backup quarterback right there. That is my tier list. Very, very controversial, especially with this franchise in solid tier. I hope that a lot of people are angry about that because I'm very curious to see what you guys think. But that's going to do it for the video. Let me know down below. Please, please let me know down below what you guys thought of the tier list. If you agree. Obviously, if you disagree, please let me know. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about most likely Matthew Stafford. I'm probably going to see a lot of Justin Herberts. Maybe even some Deshaun Watson. I don't know. Probably some Jameis Winston too. But let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Let the games begin. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.